Good afternoon everyone and welcome to PC2 once again. We remain in Italy after last week's race at Monza and move this time to Imola, where the oldest surviving map was made in 1502 by Leonardo da Vinci. Strangely, at about 4 PM on a Saturday afternoon. Imola, a track and a race always tinged with sadness after that fateful weekend in 1994 when we sadly lost both Roland Ratzenberger and the great Ayrton Senna. The track has changed a fair bit since then. 19 corners and just over 3 miles, with a lot of elevation changes and, for the first time ever, a DRS zone down the main straight, giving the best overtaking opportunity on this narrow track. Tamburello, the first complex in turns 2, 3 and 4, the end of that DRS zone. When we raced here in the past, the cars were a lot smaller, so don't expect too much side-by-side action here today, as it's easy to get out on the curbs and unsettle the cars. And Tosa at turn 7, Michael Schumacher went side-by-side with Juan Pablo Montoya. Schumacher said he didn't see Montoya. Montoya said, well, he must be blind. And Variante Alta. The curbs are a lot smaller on the game, but we could see a fair few penalties if drivers choose to push the limits here. It's becoming customary to use the middle of the Pirelli range of tyres, and we're there again, with the C2, the C3 and the C4 compounds. We've seen wet races in real life, we've seen wet races this weekend in other Ero tiers, and could see them again. In partnership with Race Insight, Grid Finder and Bolidomania, it's almost time for qualifying at Imola.
Well, hello everybody, my name is Kiklin, or you may also know me as Dino from PC1, and welcome to today's race for PC2 in Imola, or also known as Gran Premio del Made in Italy e del Emilia Romagna Grande Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari in Imola, Italy. And I don't have game volume, I don't know why.
That might be the first and last time you say that, because that is far too long for the name of the race.
So yeah, welcome to Imola today. We are in Italy again. It's a pretty short track, but I will let my co-commentator Adam explain the track.
Yes, hello. So, when we used race in Imola before the hybrid era, the track was a little different. There was the Bassa chicane on what is now the long pit straight, but they removed that for one reason or another. Probably because it sort of lined up with the pit entry, so you had cars slowing down for the chicane and cars going flat out for the pits, and you did seem to get some accidents there. So that's probably why they removed it. But the rest of the track remains more or less the same. And yeah, like Dino says, it's quite a short track. You're probably looking around about 1:15, somewhere around there would be a decent lap for qualifying, as Georgios is about to start his first lap. So down this long pit straight with the DRS, it's easily the simplest overtaking opportunity. As you come through the little tiny kink of turn 1, which isn't really a corner, down into the Tamburello complex with 2, 3 and then 4 here. Turn 4 is completely flat, just don't run it too wide on the exit and invalidate your lap. Down into the Villeneuve chicane, you basically take the first part flat out, get heavy on the brakes. He does run a little wide on exit, but you can get away with that, you don't really gain any time. Through the Tosa chicane, down into second or third gear, try and catch your wheel over that inside apex, and climb back up the hill for the fast left-hander of Piratella. This is the main place where we're going to see laps invalidated, running slightly wide there on the exit. And then back down the hill for Aqua Minerale. He invalidates his lap, unfortunately. So he's going to back it off before he comes up the hill for what would be the Variante Alta. The curbs here in real life are quite high, as you can see with the yellow colouring, but they're a lot smaller on the game, so you can cut that quite heavily. But we will be watching for track limits on the outside there, because you can run it wide and not get pinged by the game, which gives you more speed through the corner and mod traction, and then into the double left-hander at the end of the lap of Rivazza, and onto the pit straight. And that's a lap of Imola. It is quite short, but as you probably noticed, it's also quite thin, so we might see some trains around here. That's why you kind of need the DRS. As David Powell puts in the first lap, he's the only person, apart from Tuka, that's gone out on the mediums, and does a 16.6. Robbie a couple of tenths slower. Martin goes with a 15.5, which is a very good lap for a first lap, to take provisional pole for the meantime. But we have got 14 minutes left, so I wouldn't expect that to be the fastest time.
And thank you very much for explaining the whole track. As Adam has said, Martin Valo has had the fastest lap time of 1:15.5, 4/10 faster than Powell. But Tuka is on his flying lap on these mediums, or he is not actually.
He's backed out.
He's letting the Ferrari of Jacob through. So yeah, it is quite a short track and as you said, really thin. All the drivers have to be really careful to not track extend, as it's really easy to get a warning and to spin, as it has a lot of elevation changes. So it will be interesting to see a lot of strategies happening today. One stop definitely possible, but a two stop could be better, as the track has a lot of corners. We might also see rain. Imola is very common with rain happening on tracks, so we also might see that. I guess.
Yeah, we have seen rain this weekend. The F4 race yesterday was full wets the whole race. We have seen rain in real life. Obviously, the race this year, they were on intermediates, their first stints. So you are more likely to get rain here than you are at Monza. It's further north and has slightly more elevation, so the clouds do tend to roll in off the Alps. The main difficulty our drivers are going to have here in qualifying is staying out of the way of people on flying laps. It's quite a thin track, it's quite a windy track, it's difficult to find space to let people past. You have to be very aware of who's coming up behind you, who's on a flying lap, and who you really need to dive out of the way of. There's a couple of places you can do it. Obviously the main pit straight is the easiest place. And then the run between Tosa and Piratella is not too bad. And then you'll probably see some people pulling to the side on the run up to Variante Alta in the third sector. But it's quite thin, so it's easy to sort of get in the way of people and have problems in that way.
So we also have another medium runner of Ryan Chapman, who is really close to starting his lap. He is in the Alta chicane. But let's go on board with Jacob, or actually Greg, who is just starting his flying lap with soft tires. I think he... No, I'm actually saying wrong. Anyway...
He's currently second in the standings. He's got a 32-point gap up to Tuka, who's been on some lightning form. With 6 races to go after this one, he's going to need to start beating Tuka on track and cutting into that lead if he hopes to sort of stay in the championship fight. As he comes through the Tosa chicane, up the hill here to Piratella. There's a couple of cars in front of him. I'm not sure if they're on flying laps or not, but he runs wide at Piratella, and that's going to invalidate that lap. And you can do 2 flyers here on a set of softs. They do last a reasonable length of time, but it is going to compromise you very slightly at the start of the race. And as a track where there's only one real overtaking opportunity, it's going to give people that chance to get close through Ravazza if your tyres are more worn, and they can just monster you with the RS. It's extremely powerful around here. As last has gone P2 with a 15.7, and Jacob in the other Ferrari goes P4 with a 15.9. A few more times starting to come in now. Got 4 drivers currently in the 15s, and everybody else in the 16s. But I'd expect most of the field to be able to make it into the 15s here. They'll probably just make sure they get banker laps in and not sort of really pushing track limits. It's easy to unsettle the car when you sort of dive over the curbs, which is what you kind of need to do to get a really good lap in.
Let's go on board with Tuka Rakkola, our winner for the 3rd time in a row, I think, or maybe 2 times in a row. Let's see if he can...
2. He got second at France.
Let's see if he can put a very good lap time today as well on mediums. So he's taking another lap on those. If he qualifies in the top 10, he will have to start with those worn out mediums who are already 2 laps old, I think. As he invalidated his previous
getting
lap.
about 20-ish laps out of the mediums isn't too bad around here. You can do soft to mediums or mediums to softs. That's not too much of a problem. As Tuka throws it around Piratella, manages to hook those tyres over the inside quite well and keeps it on the track. And then down the hill in Aqua Minerale.
And invalidates
he's invalidated that lap by a fraction of a millimetre.
Looks like
and we've actually had a crash. Joachim seems to have binned it between Tamburello and Villeneuve. I'm not entirely sure how he's managed that. Unless he's clipped that inside curb on turn 4 at the end of Piratella. That can unsettle the car and does have a nasty habit of skewering you into a wall. So you won't be taking any further part in qualifying, unfortunately, and with a 17.2, that's probably going to put him towards the back of the grid. Martin goes even faster with a 15.2 on a brand new set of soft tyres.
Extended its gap by 5/10. So we can see that a lot of drivers are really struggling with track limits today, as Tuka Rakola invalidates for the second time in a row our winner from Monza. So he has 8 minutes left until the end of the session, so he still has a lot of time to do a lap. He also has 3 fresh soft tires, so he can use as much as he wants. And we just have to wait and see. He's
gonna have to come back in and put more fuel in that, but he's got plenty of time to get out and do 2 runs on soft tires, keep a brand new set of softs for the race in case of safety cars and things. With it being quite a thin track and there not being too much in the way of runoff around a lot of it, you do tend to get safety cars and VSCs relatively often here. The track being thin means that collisions are more likely, and the proximity of the walls means if you do have a collision, if you leave the track, you are fairly likely to bin it.
Tuka is actually doing a flying lap, as he set a purple sector 2 on mediums. He's coming up to the final corner right now. And he is going across the finish line, setting a lap time of 1:15.5, puts him in P2 on medium tires, who should be 6/10 slower than softs.
That's a good lap.
That's very impressive. On really worn medium tires, that's very, very impressive. Ryan Chapman...
But I don't think he's going to have the fuel left to get back, so he's going to have to crawl it round this lap.
At least I think the fuel is on easy, so he has a better chance of getting into the pit lane and probably setting a lap time on the softs.
It's not meant to be. It's not meant to be. You should be extremely slow with no fuel, and it now says he has no fuel on his wheel. So yeah, he's out of fuel at this point, so he's just going to limp his way back. As long as he doesn't get in anybody's way, that's fine, because he's not going to be wanting to go back out on the mediums, I don't think, anyway. On the softs anyway, I don't think, with a lap like that for the mediums. So just Darryl and Greg now get to set a lap. Darryl's on a flyer, he's just going around Tosa. Decent line through there, a 24.5 for the first sector is a reasonable time. I don't think it's going to challenge at the top, but it should be high 15s to low 16s, I would think. Diving down now into Aqua Minerale. Very cautious on the exit, as cars in front are diving out of the way. Tuka's completely off the track to get out of the way before Variante Alta. And he has to get out of the power on the exit to not run wide, as Jacob makes space as well. On the run down into Ravazza, he's not using all the track, so I think he's just making sure he gets a lap on the board here. So he's got something to work with, and then go out on a brand new set and really push the limits. So it's a 16.4 for Darryl, which puts him 12th, 4 thousandths behind Michael for 11th. So it's competitive, but he's going to be looking for more time on a second flyer there. He'll have plenty of time to get back and put some more tyres on. Quite a short lap means you can get a lot of runs in at qualifying. Elliott pulls completely off the track at Tosa to make space for the Alpine.
And Jacob crashes in the Variante Tamburello and is on the middle of the track. Let's hope that no one will hit him and retire from the qualifying session. And looks like he is letting his teammate through, so that is very nice to see that he's taking it very safe.
That's gonna ruin that set of tyres. Yeah, I think David Hoy is just trying to confuse us all, because him and Ryan have put wets on in the garage. Unless we're expecting a wet race, that's entirely possible.
I mean, we have a lot of people on mediums, so it could be a less of a chance for wet, but it could rain at the end of the race. It's really a shame that we cannot see the weather predictions, but maybe in the next game they will allow us to do that. But yeah, as things stand, Jacob crashes again, or spins actually. As things stand, Martin Valo is leading today's qualifying session with a 1:15.2 on soft tires. Tuka is just behind him with a 1:15.5 on mediums. Very, very impressive. And Ryan Chapman is switching between intermediates and wets, so he's probably quite bored. And he's probably waiting until the end of the session.
Although he's dropped to 11th now, so it might be worth him going back out on a set of softs.
Greg has put a lap time.
Not top 10 anyway.
Greg has improved and is P2 at the moment, 115.4, just in front of Tuka, 1.5 tenths faster than him. But Tuka will probably not set another lap time, as that's a really good position to start with mediums on. So he will stay in that position. Rob
Dragus is
follows in-
on a flyer. Sorry to interrupt you. Dragus is on a flyer, just coming up to Variante Alta. He's 4 tenths up through the split for the second sector, so that's going to put him around about 10th if he can maintain this pace through sector 3 through Ravazza.
Maybe he can improve in the final few corners.
Ooh, but he misses the apex at the first part of Ravazza and has to get off the power on exit. She's going to lose him sometime. Not a huge amount, because you have to slow down again for the second part, but it's losing him sometimes.
And goes
It's a
P10.
16-0, which puts him P10.
That is still
So that's not terrible.
bad. David Hoy is last, just ahead of Joachim, who retired from the session. He is on a second lap. He will want to improve and probably get in front of his teammate David Power, who is P9 at the moment. So Dragos is cutting the whole corner of Villeneuve. So that was interesting. But
He's got guys behind him though, who might be on flying laps, so maybe he's trying to build a gap so he can get out of the way. Yeah, seems like he's doing that. He's slowing down on the way up to Piratella. Oh, but I think the guys might be on outlaps as well, because they've backed it off as well. As David now starts his, what will be his final flying lap. Just 2:30 left in the session. Decent line through Tamburello, carries a lot more of the curbs than he was doing on his first lap. But maybe we've gotten the power a little earlier, left some space on turn 4. Throws it into Villeneuve and brilliantly positioned on the exit. He's 3 tenths up after the first sector, so this is looking like it's going to be a good lap for David as long as he can keep it clean for the rest of the way.
you're lagging quite a lot, Adam.
Tosa, so Jacob's out of the session, so won't be able to improve on his 15.9.
Oh, and David Hoy
David takes an
nearly spins,
aggressive line through Aqua Minerale, manages just about to hold the car.
but he's lifting
I think
off.
he's bailed the lap. Probably lost a lot of time in there. Car got sideways, but he cut too much of the inside curb and got the inside wheels on the sausage curbs, and it just unsettled the car massively.
He should still have enough fuel, as his fuel light is not blinking, so he will probably set another lap time. He will have enough time.
Yeah, it says he's got, according to his wheel, he has 2.3 laps of fuel. So if he's managed to keep his tyres in decent condition, despite that slide, then yeah, he can get this lap in. And that won't be a problem. He's going to have the fuel for it. He backed off early enough to have the ERO for it. As Michael's retired from the session in the pits, I think. But I think his car's exiting the pit. Oh, David's invalidated on at Tamburello. He's cut turn 2, so I don't think he's going to have the time to get around. Unless he goes for it, he's going to have to gun it to get around.
Let's go on board with Powell, who was second in Italy last time. So maybe he can also get another podium today. He is 7 tenths off of pole position. But if he improves by only 2 tenths, he can get P5 for today's race. Let's see if he can improve. He is going to the chicane Alta. 1.5 tenths up according to Adam. That exit off of Alta was pretty okay, not bad. Going through Rivazza right now. Let's see if he can get a good entry and exit. Going to 4th gear. Early shift into 5th. Gets a bit wide and
He's run wide, but he got out with the power, so he's kept the lap. But I don't think it's going to be an improvement.
Improvement by
slightly.
54
Improves by half a tenth.
But that
Doesn't move him up.
That stays in P7, 15 thousandths of a second off of George in the Mercedes.
While we were watching Pavel just coming around with Vatsa, Cody binned it on the exit of Aqua Minerale.
Oh, interesting.
The most ridiculous name for a corner in motor racing, and has retired from the session, so he won't be improving from his 12th place, unfortunately.
And last say,
but his
Rasmussen
teammate Robbie is up
crashed.
in 4th.
Sorry to interrupt you, but Lassie Rasmussen has crashed.
Oh, yeah. Lassie's taking the scenic route around Aqua Minerale.
And looks like no one is on a flying lap, so this should be qualifying session over. Martin Vallo is on pole. I think this is his 2nd or 3rd pole position of the season. 115.2, which is pretty impressive. And Greg in the Ferrari follows him right behind with a 115.4. the second row of the grid is with Tuka and Rob, respectively. Only a little bit behind the Martin, 3 and 4 tenths. So it could be really close at the start of the race, so we will have to see for that. Rasmussen and Georgios round off the third row of the grid. Then we have Powell and Jacob in Alpine and Ferrari. David Power, Ryan, Dragos, Cody, Elliot, Michael, Daryl, David, and Joachim is on the final spot on the grid. So yeah, the grid is not separated by a lot, only a second and a half, so we might see some exciting racing in the race.
1.3 seconds between Martin and David in 16th, and
Yes.
David did have some problems with his laps, saying he got blocked as well. So we'll see. I mean, it should be pretty tight. We've got Tuka and Ryan starting in the top 10 on the mediums, and then obviously everybody behind them. So Dragos backwards can choose their starting tyre. It's a pretty easy one stop here. You can do sort of 12 laps on the softs and like 20 on the mediums, and that's not a problem. You might want to extend that soft stint a little bit if you've got good tyre management, if there's VSCs, that kind of thing, to give you that advantage later in the race. Or because it is a difficult track to overtake on, we may see some drivers diving in a couple of laps early, maybe around lap 10, and putting the hards on and trying to get that undercut on the guys with the worn softs. So there is some sort of tactical nuance about this race that you don't get at a lot of tracks because it is so difficult to overtake.
The
So
only
It's got an element of Monaco about it with that.
the only problem is going to be if there is going to be rain on the horizon, which we will have to wait and see until the race starts, if the clouds are going to be appearing on screen. But yeah, it was a pretty close qualifying session, 210 separate in the P1 and P2, so it will be interesting.
Who are we waiting for?
I am not sure.
Got a bit of arguments going on in PC2 chat.
I think the lobby is glitched.
Okay, if it is, we will just have to re-lobby and build the grid manually, unfortunately.
Looks like we are waiting for Robbie, who has connection issues.
Yeah, I think he did say DC'd him on a lap that should have been good enough for P2. It was a couple of tenths up. So maybe P3, because there is a 2.5 tenth gap up to Greg, but it should have been a slight improvement. Because apparently, yeah, it's Robbie's having some issues, unfortunately.
So this is quite unfortunate. Looks like we will have to wait until this problem will be solved. Don't worry, we are solving it.
Yeah.
Oh, there we
Okay,
go.
so Robbie's at left Ford. So what we're going to do is we are going to probably re-lobby it, because it's going to give Robbie way too much fuel, because he's not going to be able to sort his strategy out. I'm not entirely sure what the ruling is on that. Actually, I think with 1 DC, I think we have to continue. I believe that's the ERO rules. So it's unfortunate, but having an extra lap or so of fuel on board the car isn't really going to impact anything. And with him starting in the top 10, he'd have to be on the same tyres anyway, so it's not like he's losing anything in terms of tyre strategy.
And looks like it is dry for the race, which is quite
For
rare to
now,
see.
but there are some clouds forming over Rivazza. So whether it's going to rain later, I suppose we'll have to wait and see.
Of course.
Or it might dry out a bit. Either or.
But one thing is for sure, we are going to have a really exciting race. Let's hope that we don't have a lot of crashes like we had in qualifying, but I guess that cannot be. That cannot.
It's an easy track. It's an easy track to make mistakes on. It's an easy track to. And basically, I think the thing we have to hope for, because I think expecting there to be no crashes is unlikely. I think what we have to hope for is that anybody that does make a mistake doesn't collect anybody else.
Of course. And we have a few people going on mediums, but mostly everyone is going for softs, so that is actually pretty interesting. Is it better to start on softs or mediums? Usually, it would be better to go on mediums, but because...
Yes, the alternate strategy is normally better.
It is, but this is then weird. Why
only Michael and David have chosen the mediums,
Yeah.
so it makes me think that there is rain expected.
I guess
Like relatively early. Otherwise, I think more of the guys at the back would have chosen the mediums.
Or maybe they are expecting a safety car so they can remove their softs way earlier and have a free pit stop and maybe go until the end of the race with hards.
Possibly.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see. The formation lap is halfway done and all of the drivers are heating up their tires pretty well, let's hope. And yeah, as things stand, Tuka is leading the Drivers' Championship, so he has to do pretty well today if he wants to remain in the Drivers'... if he wants to remain first. But he does have a 30-point gap, so even if he loses today, or doesn't get any points...
He could DNF and Greg could win and he'd still be leading the championship.
He would
so
still be leading.
he's got that little bit of cushion. But so Greg really needs to finish above Tuka as much as possible. The more places, the better, and sort of try and close that gap up. As the leaders now start to come back to the grid, where they'll meet Cody, who got disqualified from the formation lap, so he's going to be playing with freezing cold soft tires. Hopefully, he gets his braking point right into Tamburello and doesn't collect half the grid.
And
Tamburello's a fairly quick corner, but it's also quite tight. So we could definitely see some impacts on lap 1.
oh, definitely. And this should be grid done. And there we go. We have 3, 4, and 5 red lights. It's a long hold up as always in PC2, and we are underway for Imola. And Martin Val gets a really good start, and he remains P1. Greg is still P2. We have Rob and Tuka going side by side, and we have already one guy off of the track. And Tuka loses P3 from Rob, so that's a pretty good start from Rob as he gains 1 position for the race. Martin Val is still leading, and we have quite a few battles behind with the Mercedes and Ferrari of George and Jacob going side by side in Villeneuve, and Georgios tries to go for a dive bomb in Tosa and manages to get P6.
We've got an Alfa Romeo sideways at Tosa. It's David Power, who's seemed to have contact with Michael and the Alpine, and they've both managed to keep going. Well, I'll just take a look if anyone's got damage.
Looks
David
like
was
no
facing
damage.
and was sliding sideways through Tosa, which isn't the ideal line.
Looks like
Yeah,
there
Michael's
is no damage.
Fine, I think. Yeah. Oh, but David's tires are really hot, and he's lost it through Aqua Minerale as well. And Michael passes him, so those two are going to be at the back. David's going to have to look after those tires as much as possible.
Joachim and Elliot fighting for P11. Joachim has extended from last position to P12, going on the inside into Rivazza and gets that position from Elliot. But they collided, so let's hope that there is no damage. But Elliot is trying to go around the outside off of the main straight of Bassa, using all of his ERS that he has, but Joachim has a little bit more. Joachim defended the inside line, nearly collided with him. Elliot is trying to go around the inside, but doesn't go for the move, as it was a bit risky to overtake there, and David Hoy will get the opportunity to maybe get ahead of Elliot. Elliot trying to defend the inside line, and David Hoy will have to be patient for that position.
You need to be fully side by side to get down the inside of Tamburello. The braking point is just so late for that corner. There isn't really a time to catch up on the brakes. But Joachim's had a great start. He's moved up from last on the grid up to 11th. He's made up 6 places in a lap and a half. So the order now, as we come around into sector 3 on lap 2, Martin and Greg have managed to pull a little bit of a gap, 8 tenths between them.
Joachim has spun as well as Elliot. They have spun in the same corner of Minerale.
Ooh. Was that contact?
No, there was no contact. They spun on their own. They probably
but now they're both coming under attack from Michael, who's recovering from his issues on lap 1 as Joachim spins it again. And that's going to put Michael and David up another place. Both recovering from their issues on lap 1. And David's going to make a move, try to into Rivazza. Oh, Michael gets wide. David gets down the inside into the second part of Rivazza.
Rob gets a
as
penalty.
Robbie already has a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting, doing everything he can to keep Tuka behind him. But Lassie's got Tuka. Tuka compromised out of Tamburello, and Lassie's managed to overtake him on the way into Villeneuve.
Michael trying to go around the inside of David Hoy. They're going side by side, and they nearly collide. But David Power thankfully avoids the contact. We also have a pretty big battle ahead with our leaders. Tuka, Lassie are battling for P4 in today's race. Tuka, I think, overtook Lassie for P4. So that was a pretty good move, but Lassie spins!
Lassie's dropped it out of Aqua Minerale.
We already saw 4 people spinning in the same corners, so you can really see that this is a really tricky track for everyone. Cody going on the inside of Alta and making it stick, but he runs really deep and cuts the chicane. And Cody Reed has to give that position back to David Hoy. David Hoy is in the points, but I think he started P9, so that's not really good for him.
Started P16.
Oh, really?
His teammate started P9. David's making up a lot of places here. He had his, some of his laps compromised in qualifying. And he's starting to show his pace, already up into P10. So the two at the front now, Martin and Greg, have built a 3-second lead back to Robbie in 3rd place. Robbie is managing to keep Tuka behind him, though, as a 2nd lead over him. We're starting to see some gaps forming at the front. A couple of sort of 2-car battles and things. Most of the action, really, is going on a bit further back.
I think that Greg has pulled quite a bit to Martin Vallo. He is half a second behind him, so he might have an opportunity to overtake in the main straight of Bassa. And we will just have to wait and see for that. Tuka is also extending, or actually making his gap smaller to Rob, who has a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. So we might see a overtake there as well, as Tuka gets a pretty good line off of Alta. Joking gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. We also have 2 spins of Lassie and Elliot, I think, or actually that's Joking and Lassie in Minerale. But let's keep on board with Tuka, who will have the RS.
That's definitely the problem corner today.
Of course, Tuka has the RS, but he's not using ERS, so he wants to stay behind. Imola is a pretty bad track to stay behind someone, as there are a lot of corners, so the dirty air is very high today. So if Tuka can get ahead of Rob as soon as
sweeping
possible,
corners, especially that's what where the dirty air really gets you, and there is a lot of those.
So Tuka has to get in
Tuka's
front of him.
probably sitting behind, keeping hold of his ERS. He's on the medium tyres. The guys in front of him are all on the softs. So he's going to be looking to extend this stint and come at pace on the soft tyres at the end of the race. So as long as the gap up to Martin and Greg doesn't get too big, Tuka will be confident of being able to catch that gap as long as he can save a decent chunk of his ERS. Obviously, if Robbie starts holding him up really, he's going to have to make that move and try and bridge that gap himself. He could probably have done with Lassie up here to maybe help him out with that.
Tuka is still gaining on Rob, only 4/10 behind him. We also have a spin behind. I think that is Daryl in the McLaren.
Daryl, unfortunately, yeah.
Our 7th guy today that has spun in the exact same corner, so that is very nice. Jacob, 3
every time someone spins at Aqua Minerale, take a shot. Guaranteed he'll be smashed by the time we get to pit stops.
I would die.
Jacob's retired from the session. Jacob's retired.
And
he's
had
our
first safety
big
car.
Smash out of Rivazzo, and that's a safety car.
What has happened? Let's see.
Jacob's had a massive smash out of Rivazzo. He's got up on the exit curb and just lost the car into the wall. There's debris all over the track. There's carbon fibre everywhere. So hopefully no one gets a puncture from that. So we've got some guys in the pits. George, Cody, Elliot and David and Daryl and Lassie are all pitting. George has decided to go on the soft tyres, so he's committing to a 2-stop because they will not get to the end. Cody's gone on the hard, so he's probably looking to get to the end. Elliot might be able to look after those mediums well enough. David Power's gone on the softs, and Lassie and Daryl are both on the hard, so they'll be looking to get to the end as well. So that's 3 guys basically saying that they can get their hard tyres 26 laps. Elliot gambling that he can get his mediums 26, which is possible but unlikely. Or hoping for another safety car, or a change in the weather towards the end of the race to sort of give him that pit stop back. And Joachim goes on the hards as well. So we've got 4 guys on hard tyres definitely looking to go to the end. But all the guys at the front, we'll have to see if they come in this time round, because they were past the pit entry when the incident happened. So let's see what happens with Martin, Greg, Robbie, and Tuka.
And they go into the pit
Martin
lane.
and Greg both pit. And
Rob follows
Greg gets
them.
a 5-second penalty for speeding. Tuka stays out. Tuka stays out on his mediums. Robbie pits on the softs as well.
Did this safety
And,
car...
Pavel stays out on the softs. Duhas stays out. I think that's probably the wrong decision, personally.
Probably. And this safety car
David
is
Hoy
not
stayed
gonna
out,
be...
but he is on mediums. I get the medium guys staying out. That makes sense, because they would have to put the hards on here, which they might be wanting to avoid. But I don't get the logic behind staying out on soft tyres.
The only problem with the medium runners is that they just missed a free pit stop, so starting on mediums is probably not a very good strategy, as the soft runners could easily get a free pit stop and go for hards until the end of the race. So Tuka will lose. So Tuka, Michael, and David will lose a lot of time after they do their pit stop. So they will have.
But when the safety car comes in, we're probably looking 23, 24 laps left. So if they can gain a second a lap over the hard runners between the rest of their medium stint and then their soft stint at the end, and I mean, softs over hards, second a lap's not too difficult when you're considering brand new softs on light fuel versus aging hards on light fuel. A second a lap shouldn't be too difficult, so you can kind of make that time back because of how early the safety car is. If it was 5 or 6 laps later, 100% they should have pit, because I don't think you'd make the safety car the pit stop time back. But I think they probably could at this point.
So we have 3 people who have stopped for softs. Martin Valo, our leader, in P4, George in the Mercedes, and David Power in the Alfa Romeo. So some people doing a 2 stop, and let's see if the mediums of Greg, Ryan, Dragos, and Elliot can go until the end of the race, and Cody as well. They probably could go until the end of the race, but they will have to do a bit of tire management to not wear them out as much. You
might be looking at puncture territory for the last couple of laps on those. It's doable, but you have to be smart with your tyres. You can't take corners like Tamburello and Villeneuve quite as quickly as you normally would, because it just puts so much pressure and so much heat through the tyres. But you can back it out, take maybe a tenth or 2 off those 2 corners, and then they should be able to get to the end without you losing too much in the way of overall speed.
Probably. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what they want to do, if they will stop again for softs, do a 2 stop, or just remain on those tires. As things stand, we don't have a lot of penalties at the moment, but it is only 8 laps into the race, around 20%. 5 seconds for Greg in the Ferrari, 3 seconds for Rob, and for Joachim as well. The fastest lap time was put by Martin Valo on softs, a 1:18.4. Tuka is the second fastest guy, 5/10 off of that fastest lap time. Actually, it's Lasse, 1:18.8.
And Greg with an 18.8.
And Greg as well. So
all those guys on the softs were, a little bit faster than Tuka's mediums.
Of course. And David Hoy
spins it under safety car. In Aqua Minerale from 3rd place.
I was just about to say that David Hoy has moved up the most positions, 13 positions, but
not anymore.
I guess my mind is also not good for
curse?
A curse, a commentator's curse. Not my voice. We are waiting for Cody, who is the only one that's not behind the safety car.
Yeah, so safety car should be in next lap. So David, if he wants to, could pit here, put the hards on, catch up to the back of the field, and go to the end on those. He can't really lose any more positions. It's only going to drop him behind Cody, who is going to be on those medium tyres. Might have to stop again. Yeah, David pits with his medium, so he's going to be putting the hard tyres on, I think. Should be able to catch up to the end of the pack without too much difficulty. Safety car's not quick. And it's going to mean that his tyres are going to be fully to temperature when he catches up to the back of the snake. So that might give him an advantage off the stats. He's put the softs on, so he's committing to a 2-stop as well. Might be looking to go soft softs till the end, which is going to give him a lot of pace.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see. We have 24 laps remaining of the race, so nearly halfway. We have around 9 more laps until halfway, and
7.
7. Yes, I don't know maths, so so please don't judge me. But
Judging.
Yeah. Tuka is currently leading the safety car pack. Let's see if he can get a good start this lap, as the safety car will come in.
It'll be in this lap, even if David's not quite up to the back of the train by the time he gets to Variante Alta, which is where it tells you. So you've got plenty of time to sort of build that gap to the safety car before Rivazza. Just sort of back everyone up a bit down the hill. Yeah, David's on the back of the train now, so that's not going to be a problem when it comes to the restart. Yeah, and the safety car is in this lap. So our top two, Tuka and Duhast, are on worn tyres, along with Michael in 4th place. Tuka and Michael on the mediums, so they'll be looking to go another probably 12, 13 laps from here on these, especially with the safety car period. And Duhast is going to have to pit probably around about lap 14 for a set of mediums. You probably won't get them much further than that, as Tuka is backing everyone up. But everybody else is on fresh tyres.
Oh, and Tuka starts
So
very,
Tuka's
very early.
middle of Rivazza. That's early.
Very, very early, but we
He's got to
have
jump.
we have green flags, and we have a fight behind of Tuka. Pavel and Martin are fighting for P2 today, as well as Michael and George. Martin is a bit behind to make a move in the chicane, but
Deep, straight on. Michael's gone straight on at Tamburello.
oh, are you serious? And Greg is trying to go around the inside, but he backs off of that.
That was lag.
Probably, as Pavel gets a really bad line off of Villeneuve and tries to go around the inside to regain that position from Martin Valo, but he gets P3 with those older softs. He doesn't have a chance to fight for that position.
And then another 3-second penalty for Robbie for track limits.
Very interesting, indeed.
She's going to add up to 6. So he's going to be hoping there isn't a late safety car, because that's going to really hammer his race.
He's going to
He's
lose
looking
way
to go
too
to
many
the end
positions.
on those hards. He's defending at the minute from Ryan and Georgios. Georgios gets a 3-second time penalty in Variante Alta as well.
David Power trying to go ahead of the Haas of Dragos and goes around the outside of Rivazza. Let's see if he can make the move stick, as Dragos goes a bit deep, but still leaves a lot of space for David. But David does not take the opportunity, as he had a pretty bad exit. Now he is trying to defend from Elliot behind him in the Alpha Tauri. Not defending the inside line, Elliot trying to go, but he is not using any of his ERS, so he will stay behind in P11. George in the Mercedes. We have a spin of Powell, and George in the Mercedes was cut in the corner as Lasse Rasmussen goes P9. And side by side with his teammate Dragos Flightshoe, and Dragos Flightshoe spins because of Lasse Rasmussen. And David Hoy trying to go.
Gunther Steiner punching doors at the in the house garage. Yeah, Duhast went deep into Tamburello, got over the sausage curbs, and just as he was coming back on, made a bit of contact with Greg, so hopefully Greg doesn't have any damage. And he lost the back end of the car, and now gets a 3-second time penalty as well, just to add insult to injury. He runs wide on the entry into Aqua Minerale as well. And those worn softs. They'll be starting to die out now. David Power, though, back up to 7th place.
And David
despite the troubles Alfa Romeo have had this race. And David Hoy is up into 10th on those brand new softs. He's really putting in some work with those. He was last when we restarted on the safety car just 2 laps ago. And he's now putting Lassie under pressure for P9. No DRS until the next lap, but he might be able to get him here with some ERS. Lassie spent more of his battery. And David's going down the inside into Tamburello. And he's going to make that move. Gets a full car length ahead before the braking zone.
You're using way too much of his ERS. Now he is equal with Lassie, but David Hoy has to stop again, as well as George, David Power, and Martin Valo. So this is gonna be very interesting to see if they can regain those positions back, as Martin
Martin's
Valo has
taken the
taken the lead, yeah.
I missed that.
We,
Martin on his fresh softs has managed to get Tuca on his world mediums, and he's building that gap out. He's runs a bit wide at Aqua Minerale, but he's managing to build that gap out. He's 8/10 in front of Tuca already. Those fresh softs really putting in the work. But he's going to have to stop again, but then so is Tuca.
So this
Yeah,
is
as Michael gets a 3-second time penalty now in 4th place.
The Alpines
These two at the front have already built a 3-second gap up over Greg.
Cody and Tuca's teammate Joachim behind, as well as Elliot, are fighting for P11 in today's race. They should have DRS from last day ahead of them, so this will be a big DRS train. David Hoy just in front of them is trying to get ahead of Georgios as well. Georgios definitely inside, pushing David Hoy on the grass, and they nearly do a George and Bottas. Nearly crash into each other. David Hoy loses
So that's going to lose
position.
David quite a few places as everyone else comes flying around the end of Tamburello. Stopped him all the way down to 11th place, so he's going to have to. So all that hard work he's put in, he's going to have to do it again. George probably should have left him a bit more space there.
Oh, and Joachim trying to go around the inside.
Joachim's on the inside of Tosa.
And doesn't leave him any space.
Slightly wide, but that's going to give Cody the run on both of them.
We are not seeing a lot of clean driving today, as Cody goes
Cody runs
very,
wide
very
per Tell, and that
wide.
gives Joachim the place back.
Oh, and David Hoy and Cody nearly collide into Minerale. So a lot of battles happening, which is very, very interesting. I thought that we would only have battles on the straight line, but we have very, very intense battles everywhere on track.
People just trying, so you probably shouldn't, but they're making them work more often than not. But we have had a few instances of contact, and Aqua Minerale continues to be a problem as Daryl spins it there as well. There's Georgios Pitts in the Mercedes. So he's going to be going on the medium tires, I think.
I think that everyone is a bit
and gets a new front
impatient today. Oh, as Joachim hits Elliot at the back and has front wing damage. So yeah, a lot of people are very, very impatient today. Oh, as Elliot spins!
Oh. Well, Joachim holding Cody. Oh, Joachim just drives Cody off the road.
And Cody spins.
Our two reserve drivers. Yeah, Cody's lost half his front wing, spinning on the exit of Tosa after that contact. And Daryl goes around the outside of Elliot, and Dragos is going to get Cody as well. So he's lost about 4 places in one corner there because of the contact. Joachim really should have left him more space.
It's very interesting how there is not a virtual safety car or a safety car yet, as we had a lot of collisions and spins.
Batten's managed to get Tuca out of his DRS, but Tuca was close enough in the detection point before Ravazza. So he's going to close back up with DRS, but he's not going to be anywhere like close enough to make a move. He gained about half a second down the main straight there with DRS. It's extremely powerful around here.
Tuca on his old mediums is still getting very, very close to Martin, so they are quite on equal pace with Martin.
These guys are going to need to pit again for the softs.
Yeah.
Probably around about lap 20, I would think. They'll probably both come in, as Joachim and Cody both pit for new front wings. So that's going to drop those guys down as well. So these guys at the front are going to have to pit, so they're essentially on the same strategy now. They've both got one more stop left for softs. So Martin now needs to build a big enough gap that Tuca basically can't undercut him. It's going to be what he's after, and then he's just going to react to Tuca's stop, I think.
If Tuca and Martin stop right now, they should rejoin in P10 or P9, and they shouldn't be in a lot of traffic, so they would have a lot of clean air.
They'll rejoin in front of Elliot in P. Yeah, they'll be P9 and 10. Or 8 and 9, I'm not sure. But yeah, they'll rejoin in front of Elliot. There's quite a big gap between David in 9th and Elliot in 10th. So that's a nice place for them to slot in, but it's too early to pit yet.
Speaking
so
of David,
have to hope that gap doesn't close up.
Speaking of David, he is trying to go for a move on Lasse Rasmussen. Lasse is not defending anything as the way
Lasse has no DRS, so that's going to be an almost impossible move to defend. David's managed to keep a decent amount of his ERS as well. He's still up around 50%. As he does make the move on Lasse up into 8th place, and now he's got 2 seconds to catch up to Robbie in front. But Robbie is on the hard tyres, David's on the softs. And they're only 6 laps old, so they should keep going at a decent pace for a while. As George on his brand new tyres sets a fastest lap with a 17.9. He is all the way down in 13th, with a 13-second gap up to Dragos in front of him. But he isn't going to need to stop for the rest of the race, and some of the guys in front are. Elliot and Dragos and Greg and Ryan are probably going to struggle to get those medium tyres to the end of the race. And Ryan started on medium, so he absolutely has to make another stop.
We also have a 3-way battle behind with speaking of Elliot and Daryl and Dragos fighting for the final points paying position as Daryl spins.
There you go, another spin. Aqua Minerale, take another shot.
Please no.
If you can if you can still see, it means you haven't been playing along right. Because it seems almost every lap someone's spinning there. This is going to give Georgios a run up into Variante Alto as well, and he's going to take 12th place off Daryl as Daryl spins again. Those what will now be extremely hot tyres. Those rears will be screaming at him.
David
and Joe Kim's going to get him as well.
David
Power and Michael both pit onto brand new tyres, so they're going to go to the end from here. David down into 10th, but he's on brand new mediums. 15 laps on mediums is pretty easy. Tuka's already done 16 at the front, and he's not going to be looking to pit for another few laps, so he can get those softs on and go to the end. As Joe Kim sets the fastest lap now with a 17.8. So as people are putting those fresh tyres on, those lap times are coming down. Be interesting to see what Martin and Tuka at the front can do when they put their brand new softs on. Tuka's managed to close that gap up. He's now just 0.6 behind Martin, so he's going to be snugly in the DRS range here. And this isn't going to give Martin a big enough gap in order to survive the undercut if that's what Tuka decides. And Martin's out of VRS almost completely. So we might see Tuka making a move possibly on the next lap. Or pitting on the next lap.
Rob, David and Lasse Rasmussen fighting for P5, so that's 10 points. David Hoy getting on the inside line of Rob into turn 1.
Another move with the DRS, and he's going to make that move into Tamburello quite easily.
But he will have to pit again because he cannot finish the race on these softs. So he will probably go for mediums in the next few laps. So let's
Dragos gets Elliot out of Ravazza and also has the DRS, so uses that to stay in front. Versus Elliot Slipstream, which promotes Dragos up into P8, so we've got our Haas boys running 7th and 8th now. We can get some decent points. They'll be hoping for a few more. Fighting with Ferrari for 3rd place in the championship, with Greg currently in a podium position, and we've got an Alfa Romeo around. David Power has spun on the exit of Villeneuve. I don't think there was any contact there. I don't think he was really near anyone. That's dropped him below both Michael and Georgios. He's on brand new medium tyres, so they're going to be really hot now. And more warm than he would be hoping. As Michael gets a 3-second time penalty though again in front of him. Penalties now starting to stack up.
And we have a battle for the lead with Martin Valo and Tuka. Tuka did not manage to overtake Martin as he did not use any ERS. Tuka has 52%, but Martin Valo has 10%. So he is really struggling with his ERS usage. So Tuka can practically overtake Martin at any corner he wants, as he is using his ERS at this little straight to try and get a bit closer to Martin. But he is in the dirty air, so I would advise that he overtakes him as soon as possible. But it could also be good to go into the pit lane in a few laps to put new softs and go until the end of the race. We have a spin.
Teammate Joachim has spun it out of Ravazza as well.
Yes.
But he's gone into the pits, I think, which is kind of going to block Tuka. Yeah, he's pitting, which is going to block Tuka off from pitting this lap. So this might be a good opportunity for Martin to dive in and protect himself from that undercut. Tuka cannot pit here.
And he does pit.
Martin's in, Martin's in.
Now Tuka
So that's going to
has
give Martin that
use...
undercut on the brand. They're both going to put brand new softs on. So Tuka likely to pit next lap. He's then going to have to re-overtake Martin, most likely. Don't think Tuka's going to have the pace on old mediums to hold Martin on brand new softs off.
But Martin
Might as well
will
mediums
go
on.
on mediums because he has not put mediums yet. Or hards. He started on softs and went to softs again. So he has to go mediums.
So he had to go mediums. Ooh.
So Tuka now has a very big job to do. He has clean air, so he can gain a lot of time. But Tuka has to.
Martin's got clean air as well. He's not going to be held up by anyone. There's a 6-second gap up to Lassie ahead.
And
saying
Lassie
that has
spins.
just gone sideways. So Martin's got past Lassie, but easily enough, as Lassie was off track at the time. It's not going to cost him anything. We'll have to see if he can bridge this gap up to Tuka. Coming down very slowly. Should be enough to give him that undercut.
Elliot and Dragos are also fighting for P8 in today's race. Going to Piratella right now. Both of them don't have a lot of ERS left to spare. And they should get even closer to each other if Lasse Rasmussen loses a lot of time with those very hard tires.
Tuka pits on the lead. Tuka pits on the lead as Martin's coming around Variante Alta. So there was a 26-second gap between them. So this is going to be very tight with who comes out in front. Tuka's putting the brand new softs on, so Martin needs to get in front and then somehow hold him off. There's a 3-second time penalty for Pavel as well.
And looks like Martin will get in front, but those two now have a really big job to do to get ahead of Greg and Ryan and Rob, who will definitely go until the end of the race. They are
tight.
separated. Very tight.
Martin gets Tuka by 0.6 of a second, so he hasn't really gained anything on that outlap.
But
and Tuka now is right behind him on brand new soft tires. This is gonna be the defensive drive of Martin's life. And of course, they've both got to catch Robbie in front, who's most likely going to the end on his hard tires, and he's currently 4 seconds down the road from these boys. But he's on old hards, so they should catch him fairly easily. It's just how long it takes them to overtake. Catching is one thing, overtaking is another entirely. And our top two are Ryan and Greg, who are both on 13-lap old mediums. They could potentially get to the end on these. It's going to be difficult. They'll probably lose a decent amount of time, but they've got 18 seconds back to Robbie and 23 back to Martin and Tuka.
We have a spin.
And we've had a spin,
of
and that's Lassie again. That's unfortunate.
Very.
That's yet another spin at Aqua Minerale.
Let's see if Tuka will get ahead of Martin Valo in Bassa. He will have the RS and a lot of ERS. So he wants to get ahead of him as soon as possible, as he does. Now he has a job to do to get in front of Rob, who is with 14-lap old hards. And maybe, if he is consistent enough, maybe he can even catch the leaders. But that
He's
probably
won't happen. He's going to have to take
happen.
2 seconds a lap out of them.
That probably won't happen.
It depends entirely on how they manage their tyres. And Tuka here might be relying on a puncture. Greg and Ryan have got a big gap. They've got 18 seconds back to Robbie. Tuka's a further 2 seconds behind. So yeah, he's going to gain 20 seconds here in 10 laps.
A two-stop is definitely not a good...
try and hold on to Tuka.
But he is losing a lot of time.
Free stop on the safety car.
So a two-stop is way worse than a one-stop on this track, which is very interesting.
Tuka did a one-stop, but he didn't make that stop on the safety car because it would have mean going on the hard tyres.
So...
Whereas... But, oh no wait, Ryan has to pit. Yeah, Greg and Ryan are both in. Greg and Ryan are both in. So they'll both be going on soft tyres. Ryan started on the mediums and put another set on at safety car.
Dragos spins. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Pavel has binned it somewhere and is retired from the session. Or has he just pressed retire?
He just retired as Tuka gets P3 from Rob, but will get P1 in today's race with a fastest lap of 1:16.7, I think that was. So Tuka is leading today's race. Again, for the 5th time in a row, or 4th time in a row.
He won the last two and finished second in France. He won Portugal and Monza. But Ryan and Greg are now on brand new soft tyres. Ryan's just 7.5 seconds behind Tuka. So can he make that up in 9 laps when they're both on fresh softs? It's going to be difficult. he can definitely go for it as Dragos pits. Drops him down into 12th place as he gets a brand new front wing as well. And goes onto the medium tyres, so he must not have had a brand new set of softs left either.
Martin
But even a qualifying 1 set would have been, I think, fine.
Probably.
As Martin's managed to catch up to the back of Robbie now, so he's going to be looking to make a move down the pit straight. And Robbie's going to have to hope he can hold on to the back of him and not lose the 4 seconds back to Ryan and further 6 seconds back to Greg. But that's a 3-second time penalty for Ryan. And neither Martin nor Tuka have got time penalties. So he's going to have to bridge a gap here. As Tuka's a 16.6.
Very impressive.
He's flying on those new softs. As Martin makes the move on Robbie with DRS. So he's going to be in front on the run down to Tamburello. And that's going to give him P2. With a 3.5 second gap now to Tuka. Ryan a further 3 seconds back on these two. And then Greg 3 seconds behind them. Elliot's up in 6th place on those medium tyres, which he's going to be hoping to push for about 25 laps, get them to the end. As a 3-second time penalty for Michael. And he overtook Georgios off the... And he spun it!
Michael spins!
On the exit of Tamburello. I think he overtook Georgios off the track and given the place back, and he took too much of that inside curb around turn 4, the end of Tamburello, and he's unfortunately spun the car. Going to make his tyres hot and drops him out of the points as he loses position to both the Alfa Romeo guys.
The Alpines...
That's putting Alfa Romeo now 9th and 10th.
The Alpines look like they are not having a great day like last time where Pavel had P2 at the end of the race. But he retires from the race today. We also have a battle in front with Ryan and Rob, so they caught up way sooner than I thought at least.
Yeah.
So Ryan has
that gap very quickly, and Ryan's going to make this move easily. Robbie doesn't have any DRS, and like I say, it's very powerful around here.
Now Ryan has the job to overtake Martin, but he does have a penalty, so he'll have to extend his gap. So let's see if
he needs to bridge his 2 seconds as soon as possible and try and build a 3-second gap. As Greg now as well is just 2 seconds behind Robbie. He's keeping pace with Ryan, and Robbie's just falling backwards on those old hards. But he does have a 13-second gap behind Greg down to Elliot, so Robbie should be able to hold on for 5th place here. It's going to be a decent result for the Red Bull guys, because Red Bull aren't really doing too well this year. Just 39 points in the constructors.
I think that Aston Martin is leading the constructors, or it might be Ferrari. I'm not really sure.
Aston Martin.
Aston Martin.
With the Alfa Romeo behind them, and then Ferrari and Haas.
Greg has pulled off very
caught
fast
up to Robbie already.
Let's see if he can make a move.
Second and a half out of him in the middle sector.
And Ryan also
and
caught
he's now
up
right
to...
on the back of him, so he should cruise back here. And Ryan's already caught up to Martin.
He will have the DRS.
These new softs are really flying.
Let's see if he can make the overtake stick. He is using every single DRS. He puts a fastest lap of 1:16.6. He is using DRS, but not DRS, so he wants to stay behind still, which is not what you want to do if you want to extend.
Martin dumped a lot of his ERS down that. Martin dumped a lot of his ERS down that straight.
As
Ryan's going to try and move around the outside of Villeneuve,
and he has the inside line
Makes
afterwards.
It stick.
Very impressive indeed.
Unexpected.
Now he has to extend.
Good drive out of Tamburello, and he's got 5 seconds to catch Tuka, so he's gonna have to get a move on.
We have a spin
we've got a Mercedes around at Tamburello. That's Georgios.
But he will probably stay in P10 as Michael is way too far behind.
No, Michael's coming up right behind him now. Actually.
Oh!
Yep,
oh my God!
Michael takes
Ryan crashes from the race.
Oh, that's Aqua Minerale again.
That's the safety car coming out.
Yeah, this is going to spice it up. Who's got a brand new set of softs? Robbie can get off those hard tyres, and he's got a big gap back to Elliot, so he shouldn't lose a place. So if he's got some, he can put brand new set. Georgios retires as well. Georgios has lost it at Villeneuve, and he's retired from session 2.
Huh.
So that's 2 guys in a half a lap that have retired. So I'd expect to see Robbie pit. Yep, Robbie's putting some brand new softs on. He shouldn't lose a place to Elliot. Elliot and Lassie are probably going to pit as well. Their tyres are quite worn, and they're just going to go backwards after the safety car restart.
I think that Rob will lose quite a few positions. He will probably rejoin in P8 after he comes
The
to
gap
the...
looked bigger than that.
You lose around 26 seconds in this pit lane.
Not on the
as
safety
it's,
car.
As it's very, very long.
Yeah, but you shouldn't lose all that on the safety car. Yeah, he's lost places to Lassie, David, and David.
I'm very
But
surprised.
I'm surprised that neither Lassie nor
how-
Elliot pit there.
Yeah, same
I
here.
think in their position I would have pit.
Same here. That's
Put
very, very
put
weird.
some quali worn softs or some brand new soft tyres on, and really go at the guys in front. If you lose a couple of positions, but you're on much fresher soft tyres, it shouldn't really matter. You should be able to make those moves, and it's going to give you a better chance to really have a go at the guys at the front. As Daryl and Cody both pit, and Daryl goes on brand new soft tyres, and Cody goes on new mediums.
Interesting. Not soft.
So Daryl currently in 11th place, so he's going to be hoping to make up some positions here.
Elliot
But
is
he
going
is
to be
one of the
in
few drivers that doesn't have penalties,
Elliot is
so
going
that's
to be
going to
in
help
the
him with a
puncture
late
zone.
safety car restart.
So yeah, like you said, Tuka, Martin, Elliot, and Daryl don't have any penalties, but Elliot will definitely be in the puncture zone at the end of the race. So this is very interesting. Why
I think the
he
safety
or
car is
Lassie
going to
didn't-
keep him out of puncture territory, but he is
But he
probably
will
going
lose a
to
lot of
slide
time.
backwards here with the old medium tyres.
He will lose a lot of time. So that's very interesting strategy calls from AlphaTauri, who were leading in today's race. So they are probably focusing all their money on Martin, and they just forgot about Elliot.
But it's AlphaTauri, not Red Bull.
It's like Gasly and Tsunoda. Gasly gets
That's just crap.
Ga-
It's really weird to me that they've extended him for a second year, because he's basically been disappointing all season. He hasn't had many good, like, even half decent races, never mind really sort of good races. And Red Bull are known for being very dismissive of their drivers if they're not exactly where they want them to be. We've seen that with Alex Albon and Pierre Gasly and Danny Kvyat. So it surprises me that they've given Tsunoda a second season. Especially with Honda leaving the sport, they don't really have... Ooh, Elliot's nearly lost it, warming his tyres up out of Toza. Yeah, especially with Honda leaving the sport, they don't really have any Japanese tyres anymore, so it's not like they've been told to have a Japanese driver by Honda. So that is surprising to me that they've actually extended him for the second year. Doesn't really strike me as a Red Bull kind of thing.
Yeah, same here. But what can you do?
It's the sort of behaviour you expect from someone like Mercedes, because they seem very much more willing for drivers, if they do their job and do it sort of well enough, that they'll sort of extend them, like they've done with Valtteri for a long time. He rarely matches Lewis, but he normally does a good enough job to be sort of deserving of that second seat. Ferrari are quite dismissive, and so are Red Bull, in terms of their drivers if they're not exactly up to standard. Like with Ferrari and Sebastian Vettel, they didn't even tell Sebastian they weren't giving him a new contract. They just announced it to the media, which I think is disgusting, to be totally
Very
honest with you.
stupid. It's surely gonna be interesting to see how next season the battle with George and Lewis is going to be, as we know that George is very, very fast in that Williams, but he will probably have to take quite a few races to get used to Mercedes and the new regulation changes. So
Yeah, I mean,
so we
everyone's
never-
in the same boat in terms of the reg changes.
Yeah.
Somebody like George or like Charles Leclerc or something like that hasn't been in the sport a huge amount of time can probably adapt to it a bit simpler than somebody like Lewis that's been in for the entire hybrid era. And with sort of the downforce regulations as they are, because it's going to be a bit more ingrained. George has already done quite a lot of work with the Mercedes guys anyway, being a Mercedes junior driver and being sort of their prodigy for the future, I guess. He's done a fair amount of testing with them, obviously raced at Sakir last year when Lewis unfortunately had COVID. And so he already knows most of the guys. So yeah, it's going to be a bit different, but I think it's going to be a smaller transition period than we've seen the likes of Sergio Perez and Daniel Ricciardo have this year, where they've got into an entirely new team and they've got to basically learn everything from scratch. So I don't think it's going to be quite so bad. I don't think he's going to be able to match Lewis over the course of a season. especially not in his first year at Mercedes. But I do think some races he's going to be able to put Lewis under pressure if you've got sort of a similar dynamic as you've got this year with Mercedes and Red Bull very close together. I definitely think George is... Oh, as Elliott runs into the back of Joachim and has actually got front wing damage as the safety car is in. But I do think George is going to be quick enough to sort of really put Max under pressure. Or if, say, Ferrari's there instead of Red Bull, to put Charles under pressure, which Valtteri's sort of struggled with doing this year.
The only problem is the regulation changes.
Yeah, so we have no idea what the grid's going to look like next year.
I'm kind of rooting for Williams, as they are making quite big grounds for that, but as we are saying
Tuka's
that...
gone.
Tuka is...
With 4 laps to go, Tuka leads, and Joachim retires from the session. His teammate, has he binned that?
Probably.
I think he's binned it out of reverse. He got on the power a bit too early on that safety car restart.
And Elliott and Lasser are fighting into turn 1, going nearly side by side. But they made...
Elliott keeps the place, but this is going to open Lassie up to the Alfa Romeo boys behind him.
But
manages to keep the place down into Villeneuve. They're not making an audacious move like Ryan did. But we've already got a 2-second gap between Greg and Elliott near the front, which is just showing that those worn tyres really are not quick. And they're both, him and Lassie, are going to be under significant pressure from everyone behind them.
David Power trying to go ahead of Lassie, but they made contact again. Elliott, you said, has front wing damage.
Ooh,
oh,
David Power gets sideways on the exit of Minerale, and David Hoy, his teammate behind, actually made contact with the back of his car, but I think he's got away without front wing damage.
That is very
so
fortunate.
Those two should be able to carry on. But Elliott and Lassie are going to be sitting ducks down the straight as soon as the DRS opens, because they're just not going to be able to get the same sort of drive out of Ravazza. There's now a 3-second gap. On the first lap of safety car restart, there's a 3-second gap back from Greg, as the front three are now driving away. We'll have to see if Martin can hold Greg off, and if Greg can bridge his penalty gap, but I think it's unlikely he'll manage to do that with just 2 laps to go now.
And yeah,
God, this track's short!
As you've said, we have 2 laps remaining. David Hoy gets a 3-second time penalty. Our leaders are battling for P1 currently. It's interesting how Martin didn't pit for new softs. He wasn't going to lose a lot of positions, but after the safety car he would only gain positions. So that was very, very interesting to... True,
but I think he's probably gambling with the fact that with Greg having the 3-second time penalty, if Martin doesn't make a mistake, even if Greg does manage to overtake him, he's not going to be able to bridge that gap in a lap. So I think it's a case of, especially with no DRS going to be activated here, I think it's a case of Martin's just sort of set his stall up for second place, knows that he can't really fight Tuka, especially if he had to overtake cars to get to him.
Lassie and David Power going side by side into Alta. Lassie gets P5, or actually remains P5, and the teammates
the Alfa Romeo boys behind, coming close together.
The David's
Power
battling.
manages to stay in front.
And this is a 5-way battle.
Probably cede that place.
This is a 5-way battle between P4 and Elliott.
If
has
David
no
Powell
penalties.
could cede that place and not lose position to Robbie behind as well. Yeah, as David Hoy is going to make a move down into the inside of Tamburello here.
Elliott is very much defending.
Lassie and Elliott side by side.
Elliott just has to keep between 3 seconds as Lassie spins.
Lassie spins. That's going to promote everybody behind him up and drops Lassie all the way to the back and well out of the points.
David Hoy and Elliott going
making
side by
a move
side.
on Elliott into Tosa.
And that
Robbie's getting involved as well.
Getting involved and overtakes him, and David Power is as well going inside, and Michael as well.
Elliott's lost 4 places in one position, one corner. Wow,
5.
He's dropped from 4th to 8th in one turn, and now he's fighting with Dragos, and Dragos gets him around Piratella as well.
But he still does not have any penalties, so he might.
It's going to come down entirely to penalties here. Elliott's managed to not have any, so he might jump. So he should jump pretty much all of these places back again. He's only 3 seconds, well, 2.5 seconds behind David, and David has 6 seconds of penalties. As Greg gets Martin. Greg gets Martin through Ravazza, but those 3-second time penalties are going to drop him back behind.
And
Tuka takes the fastest lap on the last lap and wins. Greg leads Martin over the line, but Martin gets him back on penalties. And David's going to lead this train over the line. We'll have to see what penalties do to this. It's going to be all over the place.
And Rob nearly
Alfa Romeo get 4th and 5th. Elliott jumps all the way up to 4th.
Elliott gets 4th.
Darrell splits the Alfa Romeos. and gets 6th place from, I think, about 9th on the road.
Jesus Christ, what the final
I have
lap?
no idea where anybody is after that.
Same
What
here.
carnage!
David Hoy gets driver of the day by the game's standards.
And Lassie has decided he is a fucking idiot. He's quoting the man about himself.
But I think
So-
that he was going side by
God.
side with Elliot, and I think that Elliot didn't leave enough room for Lassie, and that made him spin.
We'll have to wait and see what the stewards decide, but there was definitely contact in there. So Tuka wins from 3rd on the grid with the one-stop strategy going from mediums to softs. With a 4.5 second gap back to Martin, and then due to Greg's time penalty, he drops back down into 3rd place. Elliot manages to gain all those places back that he lost with not having any penalties, and takes P4 for the 2nd AlphaTauri, so a good points haul for AlphaTauri. David Hoy gets 5th, Darrell gets 6th in the McLaren, and David Power, the 2nd Alfa Romeo, takes 7th place. Cody Reed, the reserve driver driving for Red Bull this week, manages to take 8th place. Dragos 9th for Haas, and Michael taking the final points-paying position for Alpine in 10th. Robbie then finishes 11th, with Lassie in 12th, and then DNFs for Joachim, Ryan, Georgios, Pavel, and Jacob, all the way down into 17th place. That last lap was carnage!
That last lap was
Tuka
like
was just
Azerbaijan.
driving totally fine on his nice Sunday drive in the hills of Italy for Tuka, and everyone else just went mental.
That last lap was Azerbaijan all over again.
Pretty much. Yeah, Elliot on the line went from 8th or 9th up to 4th place because he didn't get any penalties.
But he might get a penalty because of his collision with Lasse Rasmussen, so he might get demoted
Possibly.
into P8.
If he gets 5 seconds, yeah, that'll put him 7th. He'll still be above Cody.
But
So
that's
it'll be,
way too many
19.2,
positions.
so he'll still be above Cody, but it'll drop him below both the Alfa Romeos and Darrell if he gets that 5-second penalty. So those guys are going to be hoping that he does.
So Tuka wins.
They might be lobbying for a penalty in the Alfa Romeo garage as we speak.
Probably. And Tuka wins for the 3rd time in a row.
And the 4th time in 5 races. He's only raced in PC2 for 6 races.
And
he has 2 second places and 4 wins. And that was his 4th fastest lap as well. So that's going to open up his gap. He's going to have got 141 points in 6 races.
That was a really, really intense final few laps, and I really enjoyed it. I think it was a pretty good race. Pretty intense battles everywhere where I didn't expect. Like
everywhere we didn't look, yeah. We just need, what they need to do for 2022 as well as giving us the weather report as spectators, is we need to have corner cameras.
Oh yes.
And a split screen view, so we could have like 75% of the screen or so showing, you know, the action that we're choosing to look at. And we could have just had a camera sat at Aqua Minerale just counting the people that spun.
And they could also give us the graphic which shows how much tire wear each driver has.
Apparently that is in the game, it just never seems to pop up.
It is in the game, but it should manually pop up by ourselves. So that's
I'd also like the pit stop gap thing, so we could have seen just how close it was going to be there between Martin and Tuka. Because there was 0.6 of a second between them when Tuka came out of the pits after Martin had pit the lap before. And I think Tuka was wanting to pit that lap because he was sort of straddling the pit entry line, but knew he couldn't because Joachim had dived in with front wing damage.
Well, Cody's, you have money from EA, do your job correctly this time, please.
Do your shit! And I also want the on Halo graphic that they get in real F1,
of course,
like when we're riding on board. That looks so good for quali laps.
It would be amazing. We could see everything with that. But anyways, enough rambling about what we want in the next game.
Give us stuff. Give us stuff. Give us stuff.
Well, it's a lot that they are giving us free tracks of Imola, Portimao, and Saudi Arabia. So that's a lot of work to do.
But what they also need to do, I think, what they need to do for next year, similar to how we've got China in the game, but it's not on the calendar this year, is tracks like Portimao that aren't set up for at the moment for the 2022 calendar, leave it in the game. And then you've already built it, it's already there. You don't have to do any work on it. We're not bothered. Like, the track's fine. The track's perfectly good as it is. Just leave it in the game, and then we can use it if we want to.
And fix the Monza curbs, please. Please, fix it.
Fix Monza curbs.
Please.
Fix Portimao corner cutting.
Yes.
Because that's bullshit. But apart from that, just leave everything in. It's fine.
And
next week, we're at Hungary. So we could get another race like this. And we get to see who's going to do some Bottas bowling in turn 1.
And Tuka will most likely win again for the 4th time in a row.
Unless he gets Bottas bowled. If he gets Bottas bowled in turn 1, he's not going to win.
We might see one car starting, like Hamilton.
Oh god, could you imagine?
Yeah, it would be so freaking
Everybody
funny.
dives in at the end of a safety car. Everybody dives in at the end of a safety car period. Is that one guy? It's like, huh.
They also need to give us the pit lane start.
Red flags.
Yeah, red flags. Yeah, yes, of course, yes, very nice.
Red flags. That would be awesome. And because I mean that impact that Jacob had on the last corner, I think in real life that very easily could have been a red flag because there was bits of car all over the track.
The red flag is in the previous games in 2012, 2013, I think. But yeah, they took it out. One thing that I would like to see as well, which probably won't happen and most people won't agree, but we should have a multiplayer season like of 20 drivers where every driver in their team can upgrade the car if they want to. So like it would be a realistic season. And we have practice for getting resource points, and then every team can upgrade their cars every race. But the bottom teams get a bit more R&D points, so they can get closer and closer each race. And then we have like in real life, where each week every team gets a upgrade, so they might be faster or slower.
Be kind of cool, but I think you've got problems in terms of not having equal cars where
yes,
everybody's going to be fighting over the Mercedes, the Red Bull,
and that's why I don't
Ferrari.
think, and that's why I don't think that's why I don't think it will happen. But it would be kind of interesting to see how everyone would manage with their upgrades.
I mean, it'd be cool if they all started equal, like sort of take like a mid-level car, something like the Alpha Tauri or the Alpine or something like that. Sort of start them all equal, and then you can upgrade them throughout the season. That'd be kind of cool, but you couldn't. But you'd have to start with equal cars.
Yes, of course. But we can only dream.
Cool. That'd be a cool thing to do.
But we can only dream. And I don't have dreams, only nightmares. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed today's race in Imola for PC2. Next week, as Adam said, we are racing in Hungary, which is going to be insane carnage.
Exactly the same as this week.
Insane carnage. And yeah, I hope that you have enjoyed, and we will see you next time in PC2. Have a good night or have a good day, and stay safe, everyone, and see you next time.
See you later.